Right. Happy Wednesday and a very happy holiday season to everybody who's here. We are back with our final webinar of 2025 to help you plan for explosive growth in 2026. My name is Billy Stein. I manage sales and partnerships at MoeGo. I'll be monitoring this evening's webinar. And if this is your first time here learning about MoeGo, welcome. We're very happy to have you. Our mission is to be the pet service industry's operating system. And tonight we're here to talk about how to leverage MoeGo and some clever marketing strategies to put more appointments on your calendar. In tonight's discussion, we're going to talk about things you can do to qualify your clients, a data-centric approach to full cycle marketing, and how one MoeGo customer is doing all this to minimize idle time and grow his business. Now, as always, before we jump in, this webinar is being recorded and we'll post this webinar afterward on our YouTube channel at MoeGo. So you can rewatch it, you can share it with your team. Now, if you have any questions, please don't wait till the end. Drop them right in the chat. We'll be monitoring them throughout the session and we'll cover everything in our question and answer portion. Now, I'm excited to introduce our panelists. Kaylib Jones, to my right here, is the founder and CEO of GoodBoi Marketing, a Phoenix-based agency that specializes in helping pet service providers grow their revenue. Kaylib, welcome aboard. Tell us about yourself. Tell us about the agency.
Absolutely. So my name is Caleb Jones. I am the CEO and founder of GoodBoi Marketing. Started this agency 3 years ago with my wife, with the mission of partnering with as many local pet service providers across the country, helping fill calendars and mitigate slow seasons and getting calendars and dogs in the front door. So we started 3 years ago, although I've been in digital marketing for over 15 when I got my pup Alfred. And we just started going to so many daycares, groomers, and great local pet professionals. I knew that this was an industry and clients that I would love to service. So that's how we started. And 3 years later, it's the best thing I ever did. So happy to be on here with you guys to share with you some growth tips and tricks that are working for our clients and hopefully to help you pack your calendars in 2026.
Awesome, Caleb. And joining us alongside Caleb is Ben Moore, the owner of Earthwise Pets of West Des Moines and holder of one of the most interesting resumes I have ever seen. Ben, we're excited to hear about some of your successes. Tell us a little bit about yourself and how'd you get started with Earthwise?
Sure. So I was in the military right out of high school, went back to college after that, and then back into government service with the federal government, first as a contractor, and then as an agent with Homeland Security. After that, I took a hard left turn into finance and equities trading, did that for a number of years. The entire purpose of going down that journey was to generate the capital to eventually get into franchising. I started out not really knowing what industry I wanted to get into. Um, Finally figured out I wanted to do something with pets. I'm a dog lover, cat lover. I've got both. Fell in love with the Earthwise mission statement as well as the brand and their holistic approach to nutrition and their spa approach to the grooming side of things. Um, Dove into that, about a year and a half ago, and we opened our doors in February of this year.
That's awesome. Thank you both for making time to be here. Why don't we dive right in? So, Caleb, we talk a lot about the concept of businesses looking to add appointments versus adding the right appointments. And earlier this week, I was on the phone with Dom Hodgson, the founder of Enrichment U, and he said you have to do more than look for somebody with a wallet and a dog. So, what do you advise your clients or anybody listening today to consider when it comes to finding right fit clients?
Yeah, so I love that, by the way. That's a great little sentence you got there.
Yeah,
But it's
solid.
it's ultimately important for me not only to know who your right fit clients are, but to know why you want to know who your right fit clients are, right? Ultimately, and we'll get into this when we get into like the detailed stuff with the marketing, but ultimately, you want to have the kind of clients that are going to come and they're going to come back, right? So it's ultimately someone who needs your service and maximally benefits from it. Those are the people that are going to help you fill your books with rebooks and stay busy year round. So the things that I typically tell people when they are qualifying leads or speaking to potential customers, it's not just to say, hey, what's your dog's age, weight, and breed? And get them in for a grooming appointment. Let's say it's for grooming specifically. When's the last time you got groomed? How often do you get groomed? You want to ask open-ended questions and actually get, these leads talking about their story, because that's going to determine, like, hey, is this someone who maybe used to take their dog for regular grooming and now, let's say you're a mobile groomer, and now they need someone to come to their house because maybe they're older and can't go out, right? Or let's say it's a busy professional who just can't walk their dog as much as they can. They're really in need of the daycare services, right? So you want to be qualifying your customers ultimately to make sure that they are in need of your service, not, the wrong kind of fit. And they're going to be someone that ultimately is a lifelong customer in the long term and doesn't leave you chasing your tail doing new client acquisition every day of the week, right? So that's one of the main things I tell people. The second one is that, as we're trying to qualify these people, a lot of times you do need to educate people as well. Sometimes people won't know that, they care about their pets, they love their pets, but they don't know that they need to get groomed every 6 to 8 weeks or 4 to 6 weeks for
Hmm.
certain breeds. So there may be people who are right fit customers who maybe just aren't properly educated on the value of the service, right? Or let's say it's once again in the daycare niche. You might have a customer who thinks that, oh, I walk my dog, once every 2 days. I'm sure it's fine. You can speak to the health benefits of, regular play, the lack of anxiety, and all that kind of stuff. Um, those are the kinds of people that I'm typically looking for and advising my customers as well when you're speaking on the phone with people. Make sure that you're qualifying them both for right fit and so that they may actually benefit from your service.
Ben, I'm going to put you on the hot seat for a second because this is what we like to do when we have webinars. Uh, do you know your right fit clients? And do you have qualification criteria set up for you and your team?
Sure. So a right fit client for us, we're typically targeting uh, middle to upper middle class to affluent demographic, someone that's willing to spend money on higher quality items. So our business model is we're about 50% grooming and 50% retail, but our retail is more of a high-end boutique, holistic approach to retail. So we're going after people that are going to be willing to spend a little bit more than, someone that is just doing the bare minimum to, care for their pets. We're looking for people who value education about their animals' coats, and proper care. Someone that sees their pet as family. Our slogan is literally pets are family. And then lastly, probably someone that we're looking for someone that wants to support a local business, get a more personal experience and a one-on-one interaction with their grooming staff. And we have it in more of a spa-like setting in as low of a stress environment as possible. Um, Someone that hits all of those metrics would be someone we would consider a right fit client.
Sounds like a unicorn. And it's interesting that you guys talk about education because a lot of the times when we're speaking with our customers, we hate to say that human beings are barely evolved from knuckle draggers, but one of the things that we do think about is we don't know the information about our dogs and how much they need to be groomed. And you could have had one type of dog and now you have a different, and it's an entirely different grooming experience. So we're going to talk about the pause method in a second, but Ben, you said something interesting. You're about 50% service and 50% retail. Are there maybe certain platforms, channels, or maybe other methods that you consider to cater to your audience so that you can bring in those best fit appointments that have really worked?
I guess I need more, be more specific. What do you
Sure,
mean? Like,
sure. Do you cater, are you on Facebook exclusively? Do you find that
okay.
targeting on SEO works better? Maybe are mailers best for West Des Moines?
So yeah, we've tried multiple marketing approaches since opening our doors. Mailers are not effective in our area. Um, we advertise through Meta on Facebook and Instagram primarily, along with Google SEO and sponsored Google results. Um, and which is very helpful because it puts you right at the top of someone searching for a groomer in West Des Moines. We're the first one that's going to pop up with a big old button right there next to our logo that says call, and then it routes that call through Google. and then
Mhm.
you get that call on your end that says call from Google, and then they're on the line. So I'd say at least a quarter, if not more, of our new clientele come through that avenue. The other ones come a lot of through the leads created through the meta ads with Caleb's integration of the um, qualifying questions, I guess you would call them.
Okay. Awesome. Thanks for sharing that. Now, we're going to slide over and talk about the pause method. So, Caleb, on our last webinar, we talked about how marketing is the fuel of the engine. And Ben, you even alluded to it when we were preparing for this webinar that marketing is costly. It's got financial burden, it's got time burden. Caleb, can you walk us through the pause method? And Ben, at any point, please feel free to jump in and talk about maybe some of the specific examples of how maybe you've leveraged this in partnership with Caleb along the way.
Sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll start us off. Obviously, the pause method is like the four pillar framework that we use here. But it's absolutely something that as long as you're hitting each one of these rungs is, whether it's through self-implementation or finding a partner, this is something that's going to help you, get more business because what happens a lot of times is people may sponsor a post or run an ad and then they don't see any traction from it, or perhaps they don't have the right systems in place for a full front to back like sales and marketing approach. So that's why we developed the pause method. And the first rung of that is P, which is promote your business, right? So this is essentially all encompassing of marketing, right? So the marketing that we have to do. And what we've found working in the pet industry for the last 3 years and in marketing overall is that you need to understand the channels to the question that we asked in the last slide, which channels attract which kind of customers, and how we're actually nurturing those people. So the primary channels that we've seen a lot of success with are social media, right? Facebook and Instagram specifically, the meta platforms, as well as Google local service ads are like absolutely amazing. But it's important to understand the two types of customers that you're getting from there, right? On Google local service ads, what that is actually a pay per lead service on Google. This will not be your standard pay per click or trying to get website traffic. You're actually paying per leads and you're getting phone calls, messages, emails for people that have actually searched for your service. So when people are searching for your service, they're lower in the funnel of decision making, looking for a provider for your service. So you get high conversion rates, high quality of leads, but you're also getting people who are basically sifting through options on there, right? So that's going to be the first place that I would get anyone on is the Google local service ads. The second rung is on, Facebook and Instagram. With Facebook and Instagram, it's important to know as well the people you're getting from there may also be your right fit customers, but they're going to be a lot higher in the decision making funnel. So those people, and this is the number one mistake I see people do, is they think I just launch a Facebook ad and it's going to work. But it really does require, as we talked about before, some of the education for those people, right? So a lot of these people, how you probably found ads or have seen ads in the past, you're scrolling and you see something that, someone in your family posts and then a cute kitten video and then an ad pops up, right? So these people weren't searching for groomers, they've become aware of your service, right? So that's where, for me, it's important that we have a bucket that's not too leaky, right? A funnel that's actually going to capture all of these people. So when you're promoting on social media, the biggest thing that happens is, if you've launched an ad, you've boosted a post, or you've maybe put your phone number somewhere in there, uh, that's just a big leaky bucket where people can opt out at any point in time, bail on the ad, or not kind of go through there. But if you have online booking, if you have, a dedicated funnel that's going to capture people at multiple stages, capture your abandoned leads, and actually give you a very sticky approach to running these meta ads, you're going to have a lot more success with that. So having a dedicated funnel and having a multi-stage funnel, both on the booking side and the marketing side. Have we targeted people with video views for awareness? Are they seeing our ad 4, 5, 6, 7 times before they actually convert? Because like I said, you really got to like kind of penetrate the noise and you really got to appear to be the go-to service person on that. So that's really the promote your business side. The content is king when it comes to the social media side. And on Google, you want to just make sure you have all the reviews. But when you have those two platforms, you have a 1-2 punch that's really going to get you everywhere your customers are looking at and set you guys up for success.
Caleb, one quick question, sorry, before we move on to appointments.
Mhm.
Uh, Nicola wants to know what's a good CAC for Meta ads, and Vasily would like to know what is a good CAC for Yelp ads.
Yeah, absolutely. So on that front, it's all going to be we get into it a little bit on the appointment side, right? So we typically start, there's the cost per lead, there is the cost per actual booked appointment, right? And we want to talk about actual booked appointments. So our average cost per lead that we've seen that gets us the right volume of leads, which gets us the right approach, is somewhere around, I would say, you know, $10, $15 at the very highest. Anything higher than that and down funnel, you kind of run into issues, right? Because I look at this as a front to back approach. So on social media, despite your best efforts, you're going to be hitting somewhere in the 30 to 40% conversion range. It's just not the same quality of lead as you're going to get on Google, right? But you're going to get a higher volume of leads. So with that, a $10 cost per lead, you spend $1,000 and get 100 leads, right? Let's say you're a mobile groomer and your appointment cost is like, let's say 120 is your lowest. So we spend $1,000 and then we, get 30 appointments, 30% from that 100. Now we're talking about 3,600 in booked revenue. So you want to try to get it to where you're at about a 30% conversion rate from your leads. And then you just figure out the cost per acquisition from there. Oh, yeah. It's $10 CPL. Yeah, I agree. It's $10 CPL. We're going downstream from that. So if you have a 30% conversion rate on $10 leads, right, you'll be rocking and rolling. I would just do the math there. You spent $1,000, you got 30 appointments. I'm not going to make a fool of myself in public and do bad math, so I'll let you take care of that one. But that would be the answer there. And for Yelp, I see, to be honest with you, Yelp, I see people that um, have they run their business on Yelp. That's just they launched Yelp ads and it was off to the races. And I have people who have had a lot less success with Yelp. The reason I typically advise my clients to stick with Facebook, Instagram, and Google is twofold. So Yelp is unfortunately hit or miss. Sometimes you do get stuck into these weird agreements and contracts. So people, if there is a dip in results, don't have the freedom to like opt out. And then three, ultimately on Facebook, Instagram, and Google, you own all of your leads. Nobody else gets any access to them. And I don't know if this is the case on Yelp, but I have heard that sometimes, a lead will get served 2 or 3 service providers in a short order of time. So with that, you just want to focus on, the stuff that ultimately puts you in the driver's seat and allows you to opt out. So while Yelp can absolutely crush for some people don't have this level of success. Cool. Move on to appointments or keep answering
Yeah,
questions,
keep
Dylan?
going, keep going. Well,
All
I
right.
want to
Yeah,
address Catherine's question, but why don't we do it
of
during the
course.
Q&A
Yeah,
session?
we'll get to your question. Absolutely. So the next part is you've generated for your business a bunch of leads, right? We've got 150 people on our lap who said, I'm interested in your service. I've either messaged in, submitted my info, or abandoned a booking halfway through. Now it's about getting those appointments on the calendar, right? So what do we have in place where we can actually turn these leads into appointments, get to that 30 to 40% conversion on social or 60 to 70 on Google that I mentioned earlier? This is where it's super important to not only have the ability to answer inbound calls, but also what are our outbound solutions for communication via text, email, and also phone. So for me, making sure you have that marketing funnel that I'd mentioned that captures people at different stages, but also all the automation tools that you might need, like when someone abandons halfway through booking, are we setting recovery messages to go out to people? Are we, picking up the phone and saying, hey, I saw that you were interested, but you kind of bailed out. Did you have any questions? Was there something that I could do to help you with this, right? So making sure that we not only have the solutions in place you want to automate as much as possible, right? Obviously, you got to save time, but also how do we have a system for how we spend our time dialing those leads, right? The two things that we've seen that move the needle more than anything else, the first one is speed the lead, right? So what happens is somebody submits their info or abandons a booking. You need to get to this person or have a system in place to get to them within the first 5 to 10 minutes. Because if we can't get to those leads quickly, what happens is the algorithms are like, oh, you must like dog grooming or you must like dog daycare. let me serve you every ad in a 10-mile radius to get into your feed, right? So what happens is maybe they message into a competitor, they get served another service, or they find out someone's maybe closer to them than having to drive to your location, and they ultimately go with that person, right? So 50 to 60% of business goes to the person who responds first. So I'd ask yourself in the appointment booking, do we have a system for contacting leads within the first 5 to 10 minutes? And the second part, do we have a game plan for if I don't get contact with this person to be able to reach out to them, multiple touch points, email blast, text message recoveries? Can I call them, once or twice a week before we completely abandon them? So having an entire sales system is absolutely mission critical, and leveraging as much automation as you can to offload that is what results in recovered bookings and ultimately a higher conversion rate on your social media ads. Next up, obviously, is the W, that's winning back more clients. So this also comes into a lot of the same stuff. What are our systems for, getting our rebooks? Because ultimately, and I might have made this joke earlier, if you're always chasing new clients, you are going to be chasing your tail, right? So with that, you definitely need to go into, your list of lapsed customers, maybe a previous book of business or anything like that. And what you want to do is, make sure that we are doing client recovery messages there. Hey, for the winter, for all of our favorite dogs, we are doing 10% off, free blueberry facials, or buy 4 days of play, get your fifth one free at a daycare. You want to have some kind of promotion where we are reaching back out, rewarding our loyal customers. And you want to also, blast text message, blast email, but pick up the phone and dial those guys, right? And I would say every 2 to 3 months, you probably want to blast your entire list and get through, but also just making sure to spend the time, going through, coming up with promotions and having a game plan for how we're going to reactivate those persons. Uh, I love that question, Nicola. We'll definitely get to that at the end there. But, for me, it's all about making sure we have a plan and a system for reactivating our customers. So that's also good to go. And the last one is scaling with data. So ultimately, if you're running, your business, you are marketing your business, you are setting the appointments, and you're reactivating customers, having the right data in place to make sure that we are profitably scaling is mission critical. So are we tracking our cost for acquisition, like was brought up earlier? Are we tracking what our conversion rates are? Are we tracking what, are we tracking and doing a reactivation every 2 to 3 months at minimum for our entire lapsed lead list? How much did I spend on marketing and how much did I get back? Too often what I see is people will boost a post or run a nice simple ad, but they'll say, I spent $500 on Facebook and nothing happened, right? That happens from not having the systems and the tracking in place to make educated decisions. This campaign worked, this one didn't, and scaling the successful campaigns. So ultimately, you want to promote your business, take that promotion and put it into appointments, win back as many of those appointments and lapsed customers as you possibly can, and then scale with actionable data. To make sure that you are, making the right decisions and marketing properly and on the right channels.
Awesome. I have one situational question for both of you, actually. What would you say to a business trying to win back their clientele that doesn't want to inundate them with a lot of emails or text messages?
For me, that one would be like a variety of approach and channels, right? So we
Okay.
don't want to just blast, blast, blast every day. The secret sauce there is, send a text, send an email, but also pick up the phone. A lot of people are very inclined to, if they recognize the number they've been in before, more likely to convert and pick up the phone and kind of go from there. So that variety of approach is going to help not only make you, I guess, you're going to be able to break through the noise because you're everywhere they might look. You're in their text, you're in their email, you're also dialing their phone, but also just give you the best chance at picking up where they're most likely to communicate.
Ben, any thoughts?
I mean, that's the exact same approach I've been using. I've kind of fully bought into the good boy way of obtaining and retaining clients. So
All right. Well, it's actually time that we talk about you, Ben. So we've been saving your story as our main event tonight, but can you start by telling us about when you opened your location?
Yeah, so we opened in February. We had a soft open for 60 days to eventually to a GO. And post grand opening, things were really slow. I'm not going to lie. We were not seeing any kind of organic growth, and none of our marketing efforts were working. I mean, we were trying Google, we were trying Facebook, Meta ads, getting zero responses from those. We were doing mailers. We were out pounding the pavement, sticking flyers on windshields. I mean, going on TV, on the local news stations, on their morning show, you name it, there was just no growth in place. So that's why I found out from another Earthwise owner that they had retained GoodBoi in the past, and generally it was all good reviews. Um, I was pretty skeptical because I'm running these meta ads and nothing's happening. And then I talked to Kaylib and he says, we're going to run meta ads. And I'm like, that's just doing more of the same thing. You know what I mean? But then when he explained how they drill down into the metrics of it, I mean, I realized I was personally never seeing my ads on Facebook, even though I'm constantly on the page. I should be seeing my ads almost every time I open Facebook, and I wasn't seeing them. And any comments or traffic we were getting or engagement were coming from all over the country, even though we had set our boundaries. Um, the meta advertising system is just so convoluted and complex. Our target audience was not being reached by our ads. We were getting, you know, we'd post an ad and people from California would be commenting and people from both coasts, and we're in the middle of the Midwest. So it's like, I don't know. It was just, I didn't see how running Meta was going to actually work, but it has. Within, almost immediately, once GoodBoi took over our ads on Meta, engagement went up. It was hitting local people. We were getting those leads coming through. Um, and then the other aspect of that was the LSAs. The Google LSAs are very, very effective. The capture rate on those is, I would say, I can pretty much guarantee when an LSA call comes through, it's 9 times out of 10, they're looking to book an appointment, and we're going to book an appointment from that phone call. It's extremely effective. Um, Obviously, the leads I'm getting from Meta are not going to be as high of a capture rate, but GoodBoi was able to take feedback from me on a regular basis. We would meet and go over the number of leads I had, the quality of leads that I had. In the beginning, I had a ton of leads coming in, but they were not of the highest quality that we were looking for as far as the right fit clients. Over time, we were able to, I don't know what kind of voodoo they do on their end. I don't see any of that. I don't know how any of that works, but the leads became fewer, but the quality of the leads grew exponentially to um, the point where, yeah, I was getting sometimes five, six, seven leads a day. Correct me if I'm wrong on this, Kaylib, towards the beginning, but I might get one, sometimes none, that would actually convert into an appointment. Where later on in the campaign, maybe I was getting to maybe three leads a day, but at least one of those would be converted into a capture for a new client. And that's still to this day is taking place. I had a couple come through today. I had a couple yesterday, and I can just guarantee about and Kaylib, you're going to have the metrics on this, the percentages. I don't have them in front of me, but um, it did make a difference. And we went from it was April timeframe when we started, hitting the panic button because I had two groomers with not a whole lot to do. And I was only cranking out between those two like 40 to 50 dogs a month. We brought on GoodBoi, and within 60 days, we had doubled the number of grooms that we were doing in a month. And at the 90-day mark, we'd went from like 40 to 50 dogs to approaching the 200 dog um, range. And that was, let me step back. That was one with one groomer and one bather, actually. So the bather would do the sanitaries, the fanny, face, and feet, and the baths, and the groomer would knock out the cuts. But um, anyway, I got a little off track there. But um, moral of the story is it worked. And when I went to pivot my advertising from the grooming to the retail side. So I said, hey, shut everything off. Let's go complete pivot from grooming to retail, thinking our grooming was still growing organically. And that was a mistake on my part. And our new bookings and our new client captures just nosedived almost immediately. Within a couple of weeks, I was back in Kaylib's staff's ears saying, "Hey, let's go back and start running those meta ads for the grooming side of the house again. Retail can sit back because you know grooming is a big driver for the retail. People come in to get their dogs groomed, they're going to do the retail stuff too. Where if I don't have those people coming in to groom as new clients, it's immediately going to affect both sides of the house, the retail and the grooming. So grooming is kind of like the foundation that the retail is built on. So that's where we're at. Um, is there anything else you'd like to hear?
Yeah, let me ask you a this might be a kind of a personal question, so bear with me on this, but I think it's very important when we talk to entrepreneurs that we understand the audience of everybody in the room and we try to make sure that everybody can learn from everybody in our MoeGo community.
Mhm.
You're relatively new to doing this. I mean, you're
Yeah,
in your first year and
yeah.
you've kind of told me about some of the times where it was very lean and some of the times where it's been a lot busier. What's been for you like the number one thing that you learned like this was not working for me, maybe on the marketing standpoint or on the customer qualification standpoint, that learning it and realizing it has totally changed the way you do business?
Um, on the marketing side, running my own meta ads was just like flushing money down the toilet. I was getting zero uh, any kind of net benefit from it. That was something I won't do again, actually. I won't do it because I don't have the capabilities, the tech savviness, I guess you could say, to do what Caleb's team has done for me to make sure my targeted ads are hitting the people that we want to hit. Um, that was probably the biggest thing. The other thing would be um, direct mail just does not work in my area at all.
Okay.
And I've gotten that feedback from other business owners in the area that I should have probably consulted with beforehand. But I was going off of, I have corporate, um, they've got their playbook, and it's kind of like a Swiss Army knife where it may work, it may not, and you end up spending a lot of money up front on marketing, having no idea if something's going to work.
Okay.
Hope that answers your question.
It did. Thanks. I had the opportunity. I had to ask it. Ben, you had some pretty strong opinions about MoeGo and about the value we bring. I know you chosen us since day one, and we really appreciate your partnership. But for anybody who might be exploring MoeGo for the first time tonight, uh, what's been the most valuable thing that you've gotten as a result of working with us, or maybe about our partnership with Good Boy Marketing?
Yeah, and I see there's a lot of people in the chat that are already MoGo users that probably know more about the system than I do. So I'm just speaking from my own personal experience. I wouldn't be able to run my grooming the way it's ran without MoGo. It's just too robust of a system. It covers too many aspects of the grooming side of our business. You talk about client retention. We've got those automatic text messages that go out periodically reminding people, hey, it's been X amount of time since your last groom. Would you be interested in grooming again? Um, that has been really, really helpful. Also, the calendar and the way that um, it integrates with our website. So when people go to our website, they're using our website, but really they're using a little landing page down there when they're booking their appointment. It's MoeGo, right? It's a little text, a little box down there. Um, that's extremely helpful. And I saw a lot of people mentioning about pricing on there in the chat. And so you can't get to our MoeGo without scrolling past our pricing menu. So that cuts down on a lot of those, you know, time waster calls and texts where people are just wanting to know how much things cost. Um, our website is set up so that when you click on, you go to grooming and you start scrolling down, you've got to go past all of our pricing before you can book an appointment. And I think that cuts down on that a lot because we don't get a lot of people contacting us specifically just about pricing. Um, Other than that, I'm sorry, I'm trying to read the chat while I'm talking.
That's okay. We're cataloging all these questions. We're going to get to them
Yeah.
in the Q&A as
Okay.
well.
Yeah. Also, the messaging system is really nice as far as not necessarily the capturing aspect, but our practice anyway for, um, the client experience and retaining them as a client is during the course of the groom, our groomers will send updates. If they have any kind of questions or need clarification about what the owner's wanting, they're using that chat feature within MoeGo. That seems to be extremely helpful. They're throwing pictures of their dog in there, just trying to make it a more personalized experience for them. Maybe, a notch above what people would be used to. Um, what else have I got for you? Being able to see your expected versus your earned revenue while you're in there. Also, having the driver of after their appointment's completed to get that message asking to to leave a review, rate us 1 through 5. This is all within MoeGo, and if they rate us a 5, it pushes them one final notification with a link to our Google reviews.
Mhm.
Um, and that's helped generate a ton of traffic on our Google, and our Google review
Good.
numbers have grown very, very quickly with that feature. And if they leave a 4-star review or lower in MoeGo, it does not send them the link to kind of push them towards our Google, which is helpful.
That's phenomenal. Well, Ben, I can't thank you enough for your partnership with us throughout this first year of your journey. We're obviously going to keep working hard so that we do this for you for a long time. We are going to wrap up in our Q&A portion now. And just for time purposes, we've cataloged every question. So for some of these questions that are here, if we don't get to it for timing purposes, we will follow up with you and make sure that everybody walks away feeling like you got as much out of this as we could. But let's get started, and we're going to throw it back to what Patrick had asked earlier in the chat. Patrick says, with over 60% of our leads coming via text now versus phone, it's challenging to increase the engagement when they are only looking for prices. We ask open questions, but most leads just want prices. We are in California. How can you open up the conversation?
Yeah, that's a great question, and we do a lot of sales coaching as part of the appointment setting stuff, and obviously we'll turn it over to Ben as well. But what I found is, most people don't have pricing issues; they have value issues, right? So they don't understand like the value that you bring. They may just be familiar with like big box stores pricing on grooming, or they may be familiar with whatever service they've been doing, but the fact that they're on the phone with you or messaging in means that there's some kind of pain point or something that we can identify to, promote the value of your service. So typically, what I like to do in those kinds of situations and what I suggest to my clients is, you got to understand why they're calling in the first place. So, um, open-ended questions obviously super important, but open-ended questions to a point, right? Like, what are we trying to do? And when you open that up just a little bit, that's where we value stuff, right? So we're building the gap between their perceived value before we give the price. You always want to just assume in your mind when you give someone the price, that's the end of the conversation, even if you spend 5 more minutes justifying how great your service is. So reverse that and talk about the fact that your service, let's say your grooming package, the biggest one, is all inclusive. We do ears, teeth, and nails. We have fear-free certified groomers. We are, positioned to give your dog the best grooming experience of their life. And for that, it is X, right? So that way we've just basically told them everything good and valuable under the sun before we got to the price. If you tell them it's $85, but we do X, Y, Z, Y, X, Y, Z, the only thing they heard was $85, right? So put the sticking point in their mind, the value of your service, the quality of your service, and what differentiates you from whoever they might be coming from. And Ben, you can speak to if that's been your experience
You
as well.
answered it better than I could have.
All right, then I'm going to move on to the next one. So this one's a loaded question. So best answers from both you only. This comes from Darren. Marketing. I get most of my customers, he's a mobile grooming business, from people seeing his vans on the road. Then I get some from Facebook, then the rest from word of mouth, which is why I need help. No idea how else to do it. Any other channels y'all recommend for Darren?
I
Are
mean,
you is it depends on how he's running those online ads, those because like I said, they were not effective for me when I was the one in control of them. I was not hitting the right audience. I wasn't getting the reactions and the responses that I was looking for from local people. So that's why I handed that over to Kaylib and his team, and it just streamlined the entire. My ads looked better. They're more professional. They just they started actually doing what they're supposed to do. So
All right, Ben,
yeah,
Darren replied in the chat. He says he has the same problem that you described.
yeah, I don't know. Kaylib can speak to that, what they do to change the effectiveness of those ads because like I said, I was dumping money down the drain on those for several months, and I was like, this is insanity. This isn't working at all. I'm not seeing clientele come from these. So I'll hand that over to Caleb because he's the one that knows what they do that I'm not able to.
yeah, absolutely. And I'll answer it pretty succinctly. I mean, for me, on meta ads, you know, you can do your best running that, but between running a full-time business and managing your team and, potentially even being the main service provider to your clients, you just don't have the time it takes a lot of times to really invest in the managing of the ads. A lot of times it doesn't come down to one creative writing some copy and slapping it up. Ultimately, it's going to come down to how frequently, especially post Andromeda. They recent update on Meta where creatives are really king, right? So how often and what types of creatives can we test to send the right signals to the algorithm? And what kind of funnels do we have set up, like I mentioned before, to capture people at multiple different stages? Because on social media, like I mentioned, it's so important to understand that these people are high in the decision funnel. They're not low in the decision funnel. So where are we touching them? How many times are we touching them? And what kind of content are we putting out there, right? Just a picture of your cutest dog with your phone number on it, a lot of times isn't going to do the trick. Have we educated these people? Have we brought them down in the decision making funnel? And have we sent them through an online booking portal that can capture them and is likely to convert? The second thing is obviously on the targeting. It's super important to just make sure you, like I talked about before, understanding your right fit customers because the algorithm optimizes also based on the creatives and the messaging and the copy and everything that you're putting out there. So that's, kind of one of those things that you got to consider is what we're testing, why, and what signals we're sending to the algorithm. Pinpoint that or just to bookend that. Also, you want to make sure you have Google local service ads. So whoever had asked that question, Google local service ads is also mission critical, and I didn't hear that in your list of stuff.
Awesome. Got a tough one for you guys. Kevin asks, what makes you believe affluent clients spend their time on Facebook? Our target area is very wealthy, and those clients don't waste their time on Facebook. If you look at the local community Facebook groups, or I lost it on my script. Hang on. Sorry, we're keeping everything up to date here. If you look at the local community Facebook groups or posts, they post very little activity.
Yeah,
I
I
think
mean,
that's going to boil down to where you're located a lot.
Yeah, there's definitely different markets and different demographics and everything like that. But lack of, outward activity, posting, or those kinds of things, group engagement, doesn't necessarily mean that there's a lack of consumption. A lot of times people will check their messages, scroll through and check recent things. And ads nowadays are served in between their friends' stories, in between checking on the people that they're connected with. And all of those things, right? So it doesn't necessarily indicate that there's a lack of consumption. And also a lot of people, you got to think of it as a meta thing, right? So not just Facebook, but also Instagram. There's a lot more people, especially pet parents, on Instagram. All you got to do is go on Instagram and look for any, let's say, dog mom content or any of that kind of stuff, and you're going to be inundated with a lot of like Instagram only content and influencers. And you absolutely have a wealth of people to tackle on that platform for sure.
Nicola asks, getting a customer in the business is very hard because we are not marketing to new customers. We are taking our competitors' customers 95% of the time. 10 to 20% discount will not make a person switch their groomer. What type of promotions do you recommend?
I love that question. I think I said it earlier. I love that question. So, once again, this comes to me, to a value conversation rather than a pricing conversation. Sometimes, even if you undercut their current groomer, the pain of switching can prevent someone from wanting to switch over, right? So, I wouldn't necessarily immediately in my mind be like, I'm trying to get all the clients from my customers, but what kind of offers, promotions can differentiate you from your competitors, right? And make your service seem more valuable without actually even having to discount your services, right? Some of our most successful offers have that we've run in the past have been things like free blueberry facials, free spa upgrade. You know, if you already offer an all-inclusive service, are we doing, free holiday themed bandanas, personalized bandanas, like some kind of value add to make it an experience, right? Because ultimately, if you're competing on price, and it doesn't hurt to offer pricing discounts here and there, especially when people are maybe doing holiday spending, they can be a little lighter in the wallet. But realistically, what you're trying to do is differentiate yourself from your competition, and in doing so, you want to look to productize, commoditize, or I mean, I said that word wrong, but want to productize or turn into an experience your service, right? And that can come from free, do before and after photos, and the after photo during the summer is on a little beach stand that you're doing, right? And you got your beach summer party, they got a cool little bandana, they got all that. So I would say you want to differentiate yourself that way. And when people promote that, they want to take part, they want to be part of the experience, and they ultimately want the end state, which is a fully pampered dog that had a wonderful experience.
Catherine says, we've had zero luck with Facebook and Google ads. I think it's an SEO problem. How would you suggest going about addressing that issue?
I mean, all marketing is ultimately complementary. So you do want to have, consistency across all different platforms. But what I find on social media, and Google specifically, I've ran successful ads for people that just created their Facebook and Instagram pages and have a generic bio and also just launched their website. So a lot of times SEO will positively feed into your ads, or vice versa, your ads will positively feed into your SEO, because if we're generating customers, those people are giving you reviews and boosting your local SEO. But in my opinion, what it typically comes down to is what funnels we're using, how sticky they are in our like I said earlier, uh, touching people where they're at in the funnel. If we're hitting all those marks, you're typically going to have a lot more success. So it will come down to the systems, both the technological systems and the sales systems that you have in place, that will determine your conversion rates on social media and Google.
Okay. Caleb, yes, no question. Does GoodBoi offer services in Canada?
I would love to work with you. Reach out
All
to
right.
us and we'd love to talk.
Heather, there will be a great barcode for you to scan on the next slide. Um, Vasily says we don't have time to answer calls, so when we ask people to message instead. This most likely leads to us losing some leads. Would you recommend hiring a person to answer the calls, or is there a reliable AI service? I know, that can do the job.
Now, I love AI as much as the next person, but what I would say is all things in their right place, right? So we want to make sure that we're leveraging AI in the right ways. And when you're using AIs to answer calls, it's essentially a much improved and very efficient answering service, right? It is essentially just like a voicemail that can capture info and then send it to you right afterwards. What I would say is I like the idea of having somebody who can handle not only your inbound calls, but also if you are running marketing efforts, outbound calls as well, proactive outreach, and all those kinds of things. So I wouldn't task myself with just someone to pick up the phone. I'd say we want to work on very specifically, making sure we have someone that's actually pushing the revenue in multiple ways, inbound, outbound, and client nurture.
Awesome. We've got several questions from Catherine, Darren, and Nicola that we may not get to. Actually, no, I'm sorry. That's not a question. So we got one more. I think this one hits the biggest. And if your question did not get answered, don't worry. We will follow up with you and we'll make sure everybody gets addressed. But Nicola asks, Caleb, please, how do you grab attention from customers on Meta ads? What do you put in the first 3 seconds of the video?
No, that's a great question. So for
Yeah, I
me
want
on
everyone to hear this.
yeah, meta ads absolutely boils down to the creative, right? I'm sure all of us at one point in time have been caught scrolling and something will catch our attention. The key, actually, more than anything else, is testing, right? So I have obviously experience knowing what does and doesn't work, and I'll give you some examples, but you want to really, really test as many different things as you can so that you don't have to theorize or guess. You actually have multiple creatives running at once. So I say for every $10 per day that you spend on average, you want to have a creative or two in that mix, right? So let's say you're spending $100 a day, which is, oh, I know that's a lot, but if you're spending $100 a day, you probably want to have 10 to 15 creatives running to test against each other, especially given the new algorithm update that's happened. A lot of the best hooks, which is what you're asking for, the beginning of the ads that capture people, are going to be, I like to be basic, we're calling out a pain point, we're calling out a customer profile, or we're calling out a local area, right? I'm Phoenix Valley pet parents. Is your dog shedding all over your house this holiday? This video is for you. Or, those kinds of things. Or are you tired of your dog stinking up your house? This is for you, right? These are a little generic, but if you're calling out a pain point, something local, so they're automatically attached and the ad feels more personalized, or you're calling out to something like them, like Phoenix Valley dog moms, those kinds of things are typically going to capture people a lot more often. That and humor also works. And then the last thing is pattern disruption. So if it could be something, I'm sure you guys all got those videos where somebody's like falling into a truck and then somebody will stand up and it's their video instead of the video you were watching. Pattern disruption works very good as well.
I don't think I've seen one of those falling into a truck videos.
Oh, they're quite funny. I watch them all. Maybe I just get them.
It could be. Well, want to thank you both for joining us this evening. And that wraps up our QA portion and this evening's webinar, our final webinar of 2025. I hope every one of you took away at least a few marketing methods that you can use in 2026 to make it the best year your business has ever had. If you'd like to learn more about GoodBoi marketing, you can scan the barcode right on the screen. Or if you'd like to see MoeGo in action, you can do the same. We'll also include these links for more information in our post-webinar follow-up emails. Thank you again to everybody who joined us for this webinar. Please come back next year. We're going to be hosting a lot more of these webinars, addressing the topics that you'd like to be speaking about, and bringing in the right lineup of people to answer all the impactful questions. Wishing each and every one of you a happy new year and a happy holiday. We'll see you at the next one.
MoeGo.